The Miser's Curse: How Greed Destroyed a Wealthy Man's Fortune. The tale of Ejike the Hoarder. In the prosperous village of Umudike, there lived a man named Ejike. He had a very large farm. He cultivated yearly and made very large harvests from his farm. He sells them to earn a living for his family. He was known throughout the land not for his kindness, not for his wisdom, but for his great wealth, and even greater, stinginess. Ejike had amassed riches beyond what many could dream of, yet he lived as though he were destitute. His house was grand, but his walls were cracked and fading. His barn was filled with food, yet much of it rotted before it was ever consumed. His wife Akunna and their children wore clothes that had long since frayed at the edges. He owned an old rusty cart pulled by a weary donkey. He had an extreme penny pinching habit, even though he was wealthy enough to afford horses and fine chariots. Ejike insisted on using an old creaky wooden cart pulled by a half-starved donkey. When the cart broke down, instead of fixing it properly, he used ropes and sticks to hold it together. Ejike's stinginess was legendary in Umudike, and his miserly ways were so extreme that people often whispered about him in disbelief. Whenever someone in need came to his house, Ejike had a new excuse for why he could not help. Sometimes he claimed his barns were empty. Other times he would say, "I am saving for harder times," yet his storerooms overflowed with goods. Ejike was notorious in Umudike not just for his personal stinginess, but also for his refusal to contribute to the community's development. Every year, the village elders collected levies from all households to fund projects such as repairing roads, building schools, and maintaining the village well. While every other wealthy man in the community paid their dues without complaint, Ejike always had a new excuse to avoid contributing. When the town crier announced the levy collection, Ejike would sigh heavily and shake his head as if burdened by unseen troubles. If confronted, he would dramatically lament, "Ah, if only I had money, I would gladly contribute. But times are hard. My business is not doing well, and my family is struggling." Yet everyone knew this was a lie. His barns were overflowing, and he had more money than most people in the village combined. Some years, he claimed that he had just been robbed and had no money to spare. Other times, he said he was saving for emergencies and that he had unexpected expenses. If pressured further, he would cleverly redirect the conversation saying, "Why must we always pay levies? Shouldn't the elders find another way to raise money? Are we sure these funds are even used properly?" Villagers who saw his bountiful harvest from his farmland gossiped about his dishonesty. But Ejike did not care. He believed that contributing to the community was a waste and that it was every man for himself. His miserliness was so extreme that the village elders once said, "A man who eats alone dies alone." However, his wife Akunna was a woman of kindness and generosity, a stark contrast to her husband. She pleaded with him, saying, "Ejike, the gods have blessed you abundantly, yet you hoard your wealth like a man afraid of his own shadow. Why not help the poor, feed the hungry, and clothe the needy?" Ejike would always shake his head and scoff. "Do you think wealth grows on trees? If I start giving, soon there will be nothing left. Do you want us to end up like beggars?" Despite his refusals, Akunna secretly helped those in need whenever she could. giving away small portions of food and old clothes behind Ejike's back. One day, a poor widow named Uche came to Ejike's compound. Her daughter by her side, both weak with hunger. "Please, Ejike, my child and I have not eaten for days. I know you have plenty, just a little food, just a little help," she pleaded. Ejike narrowed his eyes and stroked his staggerly beard. "I do not have food to give," he lied. "But if you must insist on help, I have work for you. You will till my land from sunrise to sunset for one full season. Then I shall consider giving you something." Uche, desperate to save her daughter, agreed. Day after day, she and her daughter labored under the scorching sun, while Ejike watched from the comfort of his home. When the season ended, instead of rewarding them fairly, Ejike gave them only a handful of grains and a few tubers of yam. "That should be enough," he said dismissively, waving them away. Akunna, furious, tried to speak out, but Ejike silenced her. "It is my wealth, and I shall do with it as I please." Ejike did not trust banks. He feared that if his money sat in a place where others could access it, he would lose everything. So instead of keeping his wealth safe, he buried his money in safes scattered across his vast farmland, hidden where no one would find them. He believed himself clever. "Let the foolish ones waste their money in banks. Mine is safe in the earth, where only I can find it." Ejike was so obsessed with hoarding that he once told Akunna, "If I die before you, do not waste money on a funeral. Just wrap me in a mat and bury me." He even considered having his money buried with him so no one could ever take it. One fateful day, Ejike fell gravely ill. His body was weak and he could barely move. The best healers in the land demanded a high price for their services. And his wife asked him, saying, "Ejike, we need money for your treatment. Where is your savings?" Barely able to speak, he gasped, Go to the farm under the iroko tree. Dig, you will find a safe." Akunna and her children rushed to the farm, dug at the base of the iroko tree, and found the safe. They pried it open, and to their horror, most of the money had been devoured by termites. Panicked, Akunna ran back to her husband. "The money is gone. Termites are eating them." Ejike, sweating and weak, muttered, Try the other one, near the banana grove." Again, Akunna and the children hurried to the next location. They found another safe. This time, nearly all the money inside had turned to dust. One by one, they dug up all the safes Ejike had buried, but each one had suffered the same fate. His entire fortune, painstakingly hoarded for years, had been destroyed by the very earth he trusted to protect it. When the truth dawned on Ejike, he let out a wail so loud that the birds in the tree scattered in fear. "All my wealth gone. The gods have punished me. I have nothing left." News spread through the village, and soon the people gathered to witness the downfall of the once mighty miser. Some mocked him, some shook their heads in pity. "You buried your money like a rat hides food, and now the termites have feasted on it." One elder said, "If only you had shared your wealth, if only you had saved wisely, your riches would still be with you." The poor widow Uche, whom he had once made to suffer, stood among the crowd. She looked at him, but she did not gloat. Instead, she sighed and walked away, taking her daughter with her. Ejike, broken and helpless, turned to his wife, Akunna. "What do we do now?" She looked at him, shaking her head sadly. Now we live like the poor you once despised. Perhaps from them you will learn the true meaning of wealth. And so, the great miser of Umudike, who once hoarded riches beyond measure, found himself penniless and powerless. His health suffered, and he had to rely on the kindness of those he had once scorned. The same villagers he had refused to support mocked him, saying, "Maybe if you had invested in the village's progress, the gods would have spared your fortune." From that day on, whenever someone in the village was tempted by greed, the elders would tell the tale of Ejike, the man who buried his fortune only for termites to claim it. And so, the lesson was passed from generation to generation. True wealth is not in hoarding, but in sharing, for there is enormous blessing in helping the needy. Thank you very much for watching.